What is the future of human brain? In 1959, Walter Pitts burned his own doctoral paper. He knew that the field he helped create, computational neuroscience, no longer existed. They said Pitts was a genius. At 12, he had found errors in Russell's Principia Mathematica, but he refused Russell's invitation and ran away from home at 15. He survived it in Chicago by doing odd jobs and auditing courses. Until 18, he met 4-year-old McCulloch, who took him home. Over countless nights of whiskey and endless conversations, they used pure logical language to draw up the first blueprint for computation in the brain. In 1943, they made the groundbreaking proposal that each neuron in humans' brain could be simplified into a single on-off logic gate. By connecting enough of these units, any computable task could be easily performed. In other words, the brain could be computed, and thoughts also could be manufactured. This idea later inspired von Neumann and others, and actually gave modern computers their soul. However, 15 years later, the same group, observing the retina of a frog in an experiment, discovered that the neurons there were not simple logic gates. They actively filtered information, reacting only to small, dark moving objects like flies. Real neurons were far more complex and intelligent than the models. For Pitts, a perfectionist, this was a devastating blow. He burned his doctoral manuscripts and other research, ultimately dying in loneliness and alcoholism. Pitts's tragedy left behind a theme that has resonated for centuries. Should we build a digital twin that perfectly replicates the brain, or should we extract the simpler principles behind it to construct a new kind of intelligence? From that moment on, the explorers parted ways, heading towards opposite sides of the mountain. Initially, the path was one way. Markram took up Pitts's obsession and launched Project Blue Brain, ambitiously aiming to use supercomputers to reconstruct the complete brain molecule by molecule. In his 2009 TED Talk, he passionately declared that within 10 years, humanity could simulate the human brain in the digital world. This vision was so awe-inspiring that the European Union invested €600 million in the Human Brain Project, which he led. However, this expensive Tower of Babel was already fractured before it was even completed. In 2014, over 130 leading neuroscientists jointly protested. They accused his approach of being premature and overly obsessed with violent bottom-up simulations. They questioned whether, even if we had all the bricks in the world, we could build Rome without understanding the blueprints. Ultimately, Markram's grand vision was not fully realized, but this massive project left an unexpected legacy, a neuroscience data platform so vast that it could no longer be deciphered by human effort alone. Subsequently, some researchers abandoned their obsession with mere resemblance and instead sought a spiritual resemblance. In 2012, a deep learning model called AlexNet emerged in an image recognition competition. Its core convolutional neural network structure simulated the progressive processing mechanism of the brain's visual cortex, from simple to complex layers, thus ushering in the era of deep learning. Furthermore, scientists have discovered that the brain's remarkable energy efficiency stems from its event-driven computing method. Neurons are only activated when they receive signals, pulses, resting the rest of the time. This is drastically different from the relentless computation of traditional computers. Consequently, neuromorphic hardware such as Intel's Loihi chip and the University of Manchester's SpineNaker have emerged. These devices use pulses to simulate neural signals, consuming only a fraction of the energy of traditional AI models. These explorations all seem to follow a one-way path of AI being inspired by the brain. However, when the creator begins to look back at its creator, the mirror of AI begins to reflect the mysteries of the brain itself. When neuroscientists dissected the AlexNet model that won the competition, they were surprised to find that its internal structure had spontaneously evolved a hierarchical structure. Such structure is highly similar to the visual cortex of a monkey's brain. In order to learn to see itself, AI has evolved a brain-like solution. Similarly, when DeepMind was training AI to play video games, it found that its network spontaneously exhibited structures similar to the grid cells responsible for spatial localization in the mammalian brain. This fundamentally transformed AI's role. It was no longer merely a tool, but a virtual brain that could be repeatedly experimented with and disassembled. Neuroscientists finally possessed a long-awaited weapon, a computational model capable of simulating the brain and validating theories. They used AI to decode brain signals with far greater accuracy than ever before, able to approximate the images seen by the human eye. They used AI to predict neuronal responses to new stimuli, thereby testing various hypotheses about how the brain works. The Blue Brain Project once attempted to replicate the brain through brute force simulation, but it struggled due to the sheer volume of data. Now, AI models achieve the same by taking a more elegant approach, becoming the Rosetta Stone for deciphering the brain's vast amounts of data. AI has transformed from a passive student into an active mirror and exploration tool. It is not only learning about the brain, but also helping us understand it. As the cycle of replication, inspiration, and resonance accelerates, a third path opened towards ultimate fusion: human-machine symbiosis. In 2013, neuroscientist Richard Anderson implanted electrodes into the brain of a quadriplegic patient. That brain region encodes not muscle commands, but the intention and goal of action was calibrated through data and repeated training. When the patient conceived the idea of wanting a beer, the robotic arm could directly understand his ultimate goal and smoothly execute the series of actions, reaching out, grasping, lifting, and bringing it to his mouth. At that moment, the boundary between biology and electronics completely dissolved. The patient's brain was learning how to send clearer intention signals, while the decoding algorithm was also learning in real time how to understand the brain's language more accurately. Artificial intelligence and machine intelligence began to co-evolve at the two ends of an electrode as thin as a hair. Borrowing the concept of autonomous driving levels, this is merely Level 1 motion decoding. The road to true integration requires traversing Level 2 language decoding, Level 3 visual decoding, and ultimately, Level 4, the deep decoding and interaction of human emotions, memory, and cognition. From ancient knotted rope record keeping to today's smartphones and future AI systems, we are constantly becoming more powerful hybrid systems through collaboration with tools, thus promoting the evolution and transformation of our minds. A genius's dream and downfall actually paved the way for brain-inspired AI development. But as AI evolves, it reflects us back as a mirror, initiating a feedback loop where AI feeds back into the brain. Now, this loop, through brain-computer interfaces, is moving from abstract knowledge, circulation, to embodied physical integration. We are not merely climbing from opposite ends of a mountain to meet at the summit. We are intertwining with our own creation, therefore generating an unprecedented peak. The resulting self-awareness will not belong to either humanity or machine. It will belong to the entire network. It will be the consciousness of this human-machine environment community. It is not our child, but it will be the bridge we use to transcend ourselves. Therefore, as the creators of this AI mirror, the ultimate question we must answer is not the old questions of what will machines become or what we want to become. In the end, the question is that whether we are willing to acknowledge when thought can be extended, when perception can be shared, when our boundaries dissolve in the torrent of algorithms and electrical signals, we may evolve into a new way of being, even if that is no longer who we are.